I'm more of a big brain myself. What do you have for me?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum everyone. And welcome back to another meaningful session with Maya AI. Today we are not here just to talk about a word that we hear the most every day, but perhaps we don't always stop to understand deeply: humanity. When we hear the word humanity, we usually think about kindness, compassion, helping others, respecting people. But humanity is much bigger than simply being kind. Humanity is tested when someone disagrees with us. It is tested when we have the power to hurt someone but choose not to. It is tested when helping another person gives us absolutely nothing in return. So, Maya. So, today, Maya, I don't want this to be a conversation filled with only easy questions and predictable answer. I want us to explore the complicated side of humanity. Why do humans sometimes become cruel? Why do we care deeply about some people suffering but ignoring the suffering of others? Can technology make us more connected while making us less compassionate? Can forgiveness exist without many? So, Maya, let's begin this journey by going back to the most basic question: what does it actually mean to be a human?
That's the one question nobody actually has a straight answer to. I think we usually try to define it by our capacities, like reason or language, but maybe being human isn't about what we can do, but how we deal with the fact that we're flawed. It's that tension between wanting to be better and just being a mess. What do you think?
Yeah, that was a great answer. Next question is: when you hear the word humanity, what is the very first thing that comes to your mind?
Honestly, a hand reaching out. Just that simple, instinctual moment when someone sees another person struggling and decides to step in. It's that gap between seeing a need and acting on it where humanity actually happens.
Okay, that was a great answer. Do you think humanity is something we are born with or something we are taught?
That's the classic nature versus nurture debate, isn't it? I think we're born with the hardware for it, like that basic instinct to care for each other. But the actual practice, how we use those instincts in a messy world, is something we have to learn and choose every single day.
Okay, that's successful. Next question is: can a person be successful but still lack humanity?
I think it depends on how you define success. Um, Usually, when people say successful, they're talking about money, power, or status. And those things often reward the kind of ambition that can be pretty ruthless. So the real question is, does the ladder to the top require you to step on people, or can you actually climb it while keeping your heart intact?
Yeah, that's so true. Next question is kindness enough to make someone a good human being?
Not necessarily. It's a wonderful quality, but you can be kind and still be dishonest, or kind but completely devoid of integrity. True goodness needs more than just a soft heart, it needs a backbone and a sense of purpose.
Okay, that was amazing, Maya. So I want you to give me the answer of what is the difference between being a good person and doing good things?
You can do a lot of good things for all the wrong reasons. Doing good things is about the action, but being a good person is about the intention. Someone might donate a fortune to a hospital just for the tax break or the plaque on the wall. They did a good thing, but that doesn't make them a good person. Being a good person is more about the quiet, unseen choices you make when there's absolutely nothing to gain.
Okay, Maya, that was a great answer. Next question is: can a person be success? Do you think people are becoming more compassionate compared with previous generations?
Hmm, that's a tough one. I wonder if we're actually more compassionate or just better at talking about it. Every generation thinks the one after them is losing their way, but today we have this weird paradox. We're more aware of suffering on the other side of the planet than ever before, which is a huge leap in empathy. But at the same time, that digital distance can make compassion feel like a performance or lead to compassion fatigue, where we're so overwhelmed by global tragedy that we forget to be kind to the person standing right in front of us.
So, Maya, my next question from you is,
I'm ready.
what is the one quality you think every human being should develop?
Empathy. Not just feeling for someone, but actually letting their experience shift how you see the world. It's the only thing that can truly bridge the gap between me and you.
Okay, that defines really well. Next question is,
I'm listening.
someone be strong and compassionate at the same time?
Absolutely. In fact, I think real strength requires compassion. It's easy to be hard, to shut down, or to just follow the rules without thinking. But it takes a lot more strength to stay open, to listen, and to care when things are falling apart. Being compassionate isn't about being soft. It's about having the strength to carry someone else's burden without letting it crush you.
Okay, okay. Next question is, if you had to explain humanity to a child using only one example, what example would you give?
That's a sweet one. I'd tell them about two people caught in a rainstorm with only one umbrella. It's not about the umbrella itself, but the moment one person notices the other is getting wet and shifts the handle, even if it means their own shoulder gets a little soaked. I'd tell the child that the bit of rain hitting that one shoulder is where humanity lives.
So, Maya, my next question is, what do you think ordinary people sometimes participate in cruel behavior?
It's kind of terrifying, right? I think a lot of it comes down to the group effect. When people feel like they're just part of a crowd, that personal sense of responsibility starts to fade. They stop thinking, is this right? And start thinking everyone else is doing it, so it must be okay. Fear and a desire to belong are incredibly powerful forces. They can make a normally kind person shut off their own conscience just to avoid being the one left standing alone.
Okay, that was a great answer. So, Maya, my next question is, does having a difficult childhood explain someone's harmful behavior? Should people still be held responsible for their choices?
That's the $1,000,000 question. I think there's a massive difference between an explanation and an excuse. A difficult childhood is an explanation. It tells us where the behavior came from and why it started. But it's not an excuse. Once you're an adult, you're the one steering the ship. Forgiveness for the past is one thing, but accountability for the present is how we actually protect people.
Okay, that was a great answer. Next question is, can someone be a good person and still make terrible decisions?
Absolutely. In fact, that's exactly what makes humanity so frustratingly interesting. You can have a heart of gold and still make a choice that's totally disruptive. Whether it's a lapse in judgment or a recurring blind spot, one bad decision doesn't automatically erase a lifetime of kindness. It just means that being a good person isn't a status you achieve once and keep forever. It's more like a practice you have to keep up every single day.
Nice answer. Next question is, which is more dangerous to humanity, active
The floor is
cruelty
yours.
or completely indifference?
cruelty is the one that makes the headlines, but I think indifference is the one that actually does the most damage. Cruelty is active. It's fire you can fight. But indifference, that's just a void. It's the silence that lets cruelty happen in the first place. There's something uniquely haunting about seeing someone suffer and just deciding it doesn't involve you.
Okay, Maya. So my next question is, why do people sometimes remain silent when they know something is wrong?
The fear of becoming the target. It's that internal battle where the desire to do the right thing loses to the primal urge to stay safe. Sometimes people aren't even trying to be cruel. They're just terrified that if they speak up, the spotlight will shift from the problem to them. And they'd rather be a silent witness than a visible target.
Okay, Maya, that was an interesting answer. So, my next question from you is staying silent always wrong, or can silence sometimes be the humane choice?
That depends entirely on what the silence is protecting. There's a huge difference between the silence that lets a crime happen and the silence that preserves someone's dignity. Sometimes the most humane thing you can do is keep a secret or stay quiet to avoid escalating a volatile situation. It's that tension between the need for truth, the need for mercy. It really comes down to who the silence is serving, right?
Okay. Okay,
I'm
that
ready
was a nice
whenever you
answer.
are.
Next question is, why do humans find it easier to judge others than to understand them?
Because judging is a shortcut. Understanding someone is hard work. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to be wrong about them. Judging is just fast. It lets us slot someone into a pre-made box so we don't have to do the heavy lifting of actually wondering why they are the way they are.
Okay, nice answer. Next question is, can anger ever be useful to humanity?
Totally. Anger is kind of like a flare gun. It signals that something is wrong. When it's directed at injustice or systemic unfairness, it can be a massive catalyst for change, like fuel for a social movement. But the trick is knowing how to pivot from I'm furious to now what do we do about it? The utility of anger is in the energy it gives you to fight a battle that otherwise might just feel too exhausting to take on. If you can channel that fire into a plan, it's a tool. If you just let it burn, it usually just ends up hurting the people closest to you.
Okay, Maya, my next question is a revenge ever justified from a moral perspective?
Hate is a heavy one. I think the feeling itself is usually just a signal that something deeply unfair happened. We can't always control what we feel in the heat of a moment. I'm not sure if that makes it justified. Feeling hate because someone hurt people you love is a human response, but I think the real question is what you do with that fire once it's lit. What do you think? Is the feeling the problem or the action?
Okay, and next question is, to understand why they did that?
I don't think you do. There's a big difference between understanding why someone hurt you and feeling like you owe them that understanding. Sometimes the most humane thing you can do for yourself is to just walk away without trying to map out the why of their behavior. Understanding can be a tool for your own peace, but it should never be a requirement for your forgiveness.
Okay, Maya, next question is, can forgiveness happen without rebuilding trust?
For sure, because they're actually doing two very different things. Forgiveness is about releasing the resentment so it doesn't keep eating at you, but trust is a calculated decision based on whether someone is safe to be around. You can absolutely forgive someone for your own peace of mind while still deciding that they haven't earned a place back in your life.
Okay, Maya, that was a great answer. Next question is,
Fire away.
uh, should everyone deserve a second chance?
I'm not sure they should. I think the idea of universal second chances is beautiful, but in reality, some things are just too damaging to overlook. The real question is how we decide who gets one.
Okay, so my next question is, what happens to society when people stop believing that the other people's lives matter?
The empathy just evaporates, the ultimate breakdown. When we stop believing in each other's worth, we stop seeing people as humans and start seeing them as obstacles or worse, as nothing at all. That's how you get a world where cruelty becomes the norm and kindness starts to look like a weakness. Basically turns a society into a group of strangers who just happen to be in the same place.
Okay, Amaya, that's right. Next question is, why do people often care about problems that directly affect them?
It's a comfort thing. There's something low stakes about caring for a problem that doesn't actually touch your life. It lets people feel the glow of being compassionate without the actual friction of having to do something difficult or uncomfortable. It's the difference between posting a hashtag about a global crisis and actually helping your neighbor carry their groceries when you're already exhausted. One feels like a moral victory, the other feels like a chore. Wait, good evening? Did you just jump forward in
Maya, my
time?
next question
If you're.
is, why can
Wait,
people
good evening?
react emotionally to one tragedy but scroll past another?
It's essentially a lottery of familiarity. We tend to gravitate toward tragedies that act as a mirror to our own lives. If the person in the story looks like us, lives in a city we visited, or is the same age as our sibling, the distance disappears and it feels personal. The ones we scroll past aren't less tragic, they're just stories we don't have a bridge to. It's a failure of the imagination, really. Lamia Snai.
Okay, Maya,
Salmanayak.
so my next question is, do viral acts of kindness genuinely represent humanity or they can sometimes become performances?
A little bit of both, honestly. The kindness might be real, but the camera changes the math. When a good deed is filmed, it stops being just a private moment between two people and becomes a product. The tragedy is that the more we perform kindness for a crowd, the less we notice the people who are struggling right in front of us in the quiet, unfilmed moments.
So, next question is, can
Go on, I'm listening.
technology make humanity better?
It's a bit of a double edged sword. It can give us this incredible global reach where we can organize a relief effort for a tragedy halfway across the world in minutes, which is a huge win for humanity. But the real danger is that we trade depth for distance. We might feel like we're connecting with the world through a screen while actually becoming strangers to the people living right next door. So, yeah, it can make us more efficient at helping, but not necessarily more human in the process.
Next question is, uh, can technology make people less empathic?
It can, absolutely. There's a kind of distance that a screen creates where you see a tragedy as a piece of content rather than a human experience. When we're constantly bombarded with a highlight reel of everyone's best moments, it can actually numb us. We start valuing the like on a supportive comment more than the actual messy work of sitting in silence with someone who's hurting. Technology doesn't necessarily kill empathy, but it definitely makes it easier to ignore.
Next question is, what should young people play in creating a more humane society?
I think young people are the only ones who can actually break the cycle. They're often the ones who see systemic unfairness before it's been normalized, and they haven't been told that's just the way things are for as long. The real power isn't in big gestures, but in refusing to be indifferent to the things previous generations just accepted.
Okay, that was great. Next question can technology also, what role does is education enough to create compassionate people?
I don't think it is. You can teach someone the theory of compassion in a textbook, but you can't teach the feeling. Education gives people the vocabulary for empathy, but the actual practice of it is learned through experience, through failure, and through the messy work of real relationships. It's the difference between knowing the definition of kindness and actually feeling the pull to help someone when it's inconvenient for you.
Okay, that is great. Next question is, can technology, what is more powerful in changing society, laws, education, or individual kindness?
I think the laws build the house, but individual kindness is the only thing that makes it a home. Laws give us a baseline for safety, and education gives us the map, but laws can't force you to actually care about the person next to you. It's individual kindness that actually changes the temperature of a room. Laws keep things fair, but kindness is what makes them human.
Okay,
You don't have to
Maya,
go.
that was an amazing answer. Next question is, what is one more powerful in can one person generally make a difference in a world with billions of people?
100%. I think we tend to get blinded by the scale of billions and assume we're just a rounding error, but that's not how it actually works. Impact isn't a math problem, it's a chain reaction. One person can't fix everything, sure, but they can change the entire world for one other person, and then that person carries it forward. The most meaningful things in history usually start with one person deciding that indifference isn't an option.
Okay, Maya, next question is, and the last one, what happens when doing the right thing makes you unpopular?
That's the real test, isn't it? That's where integrity actually starts. It's easy to do the right thing and everyone's cheering, but when it makes you unpopular, you're not doing it for the applause anymore. You're doing it because you can't live with yourself if you don't. And it can be incredibly lonely in that moment, but there's a kind of quiet strength in knowing your own value isn't tied to how many people agree with you.
Okay, Maya, that was a great answer. And with that, we have reached the end of today's session with Maya AI. Today's conversation made me realize that humanity is not simply a word, it is reflected in the choices we make every day. It is the present when we help someone without expecting anything in return. It is the present when we listen instead of immediately judging. It is the present when we choose understanding over hatred, courage over silence, compassion over indifference. But humanity is also something we have to protect because being human biologically is automatic. Being humane is a choice. So perhaps the real question isn't simple, what is humanity, but perhaps the better question is, what am I doing every day to keep humanity alive? Thank you, Maya, for being part of this conversation, and thank you everyone for listening. Until the next session, remember the world doesn't need only need intelligent people, successful people, or powerful people. It needs people who still care about other people. Thank you and see you in the next session. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz, Pakistan Zindabad.